there, everybody. This is Kristen from Teaching Balance, and I am here with you with this week's mindfulness meditation practice. We are in the month of working with challenging emotions, and last week, if you recall, we explored this whole metaphor of letting whatever is disturbing you, emotions, circumstances, even physical pain, letting it sit next to you on the bench, which disempowers it and empowers you as the person who's calling the shots. And so we're going to continue with the concept of exploring metaphors to work with and express some of these concepts. And the metaphor that I want to offer you today is one I've been talking about for years and years regarding how to picture, again, this whole idea of a visualization, how to envision allow a way to create a little bit more space, a little bit more perspective, a little bit more distance, use whatever term resonates with you the most, between you and the experience, and the experience meaning the physical discomfort, the emotional pain, the, whatever it might be. And so here is the metaphor that I like to offer that I think is very, very helpful. So really what it's about experiencing and observing. Of course, so much of what we do is about objective observation, which is why all of this really builds on itself and is so supportive. What you're doing is you're, in your mind, creating this objective perspective. And the way I describe it is to picture the emotions, the challenge, whatever it might be, on a stage, and to put yourself up in the balcony. So instead of being on stage with your anger or your frustration or your pain or your sadness, where it's like right there, you feel very, very identified with it, and it's like you say, I am sad, I am angry, whatever it might be. And while that is a very common and typical experience, supported by your meditation practice, or sometimes just the spontaneous capacity to be able to do this, what I'd invite you to do is take this experience down here and put your awareness of it, your observation of it, up here in the balcony. And so it's not as though you're denying its existence or you're, putting blinders on and all of that sort of thing. If anything, you have more skillfulness by perceiving it from a little bit more of a healthy, space. And so if you're up here in the balcony, you might observe anger is present. Look at that. Look at the impact that it's having. Frustration is present. Sadness is present. Physical pain is present. And up here is that very empowering and useful, more objective and depersonalized perspective. So the way that I've often described it too when I talk to people, particularly teenagers, is, have you ever had a friend who was just, venting about their frustration, whatever happened that they were really upset about? And as you're patiently listening, from your perspective, you might be thinking, well, it's really not that big of a deal, and I think they're overreacting. But of course, you wouldn't say anything. The reason that you might have that perception is that it's not happening to you. You have space. You have perspective. It has that quality of not being so personal. It's happening to the other person. For them, it's right here. For you, you're hearing about it, third person. And so ultimately what we're trying to do is cultivate that same quality of perspective and, like I've been saying, being slightly more impersonal, even if it's our own experience. So my invitation to you is just to play with that. When something comes up, whatever it might be, allow yourself to explore and see the emotions, the discomfort, the challenge, as almost as though it weren't happening to you when you were just watching it from the balcony. And you still have a lot of clarity about it. The lights are shining, you can see what's happening, but you're just not caught up in it so that you have a little bit more of that perspective. So that's my metaphor for you today to play with this week. For our practice, we're just going to get into our regular mindful awareness practice. But what I want to offer to you is that, just as I said in the intro, there's something very supportive, and we're really doing a lot of groundwork laying regarding having the capacity to be more objective and to be metacognitive and aware of our internal experience when we just do our regular mindfulness meditation. So let's do that so it supports us when it comes to these challenging emotions and how to perhaps relate to them in a way that's a little more skillful. I've set my timer for 10 minutes, so let's go ahead and just settle in. Taking those deep, slow belly breaths in whatever way works for you. And after you've taken some of those deeper breaths, you can allow your breathing to resume its natural rhythm. And of course, you can always bring that deep breathing in. It might even happen spontaneously. Your body might breathe in that way for you because it feels the need. Looking to downregulate and settle into a little bit more of that relaxed physiological state. And by the way, for this practice, if for this session you're not feeling very relaxed, you're not feeling very regulated, that's okay too. While there is the general effect, excuse me, that tends to occur when we sit, of feeling more settled and relaxed. Sometimes, your leg is shaking, or you're feeling a lot of nervous energy, perhaps you're over-caffeinated, whatever it might be. And remembering that that's okay too. Your practice will still be meaningful, even if you don't necessarily feel relaxed or more settled as a result. So just being present to how things are and letting go of any expectations or outcome hopes. And instead just being, as I said, very, very non-judgmentally aware of how things are in this moment. So let's sit together for a while and I'll check back in a minute or two. Noticing where the mind is now. And if it's wandered off into thought, just like mine was a moment ago, remembering that's not a problem. It's part of the experience of sitting. Sometimes it feels like we're lost in thought for 99% of our sit. And that's okay. Just every time you notice, coming back to the present and resting your awareness on either the breath or sounds, the body, or whatever works for you. And it's that noticing, not having any reaction to it or feeling bad about it, coming back. And then we get lost again, and you notice and you come back again and again. And that is what is so supportive of our self-awareness. So let's sit again for a little bit and I'll check back in as well. And as we continue to sit, my invitation to you, if it feels resonant, is to invite in a little bit more lightness and playfulness to your meditation experience. So whatever quality of effort you're exerting, I'm going to invite you just to lessen it slightly. So maybe a little less efforting and trying to be present, and instead perhaps just more an allowing and a resting. So let's play with that for the last couple of minutes before our bell. So again, remembering, if you care to play with this idea of putting yourself in the balcony with a slightly more objective and spacious perspective to your experience, whatever it may be, and seeing if that resonates for you. And of course, as always, thank you so much for taking this time for yourself, and thank you for allowing me to accompany you on this journey. And I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.